Simon, in this video, I'd like to continue talking to you about the impersonation category. The last time we spoke, you mentioned setting up DMARC as a way to secure your email servers and protect your organization. But is there another threat that people should be aware of?
Yeah, hello, Elias. Yeah, definitely there is. So with DMARC, it was literally forging your genuine email. But there is another one, it's impersonation. And impersonation is where the criminals are trying to catch out the human eye by putting together a domain that looks a bit like you, enough to convince you. And I suppose an example of that could be, well, actually, if you use the word example and replace the M with an R and an N, the two letters together look like an M. So to the uninitiated, looks just like example. Another one would be something like lollipop, and you replace the double L, the first L in lollipop with a number 1, and that again, that looks pretty much like a double L in the middle of lollipop. So and you use these fish attacks predominantly for what we've discussed in the past: business email compromise, CEO fraud, and something called whaling, which we haven't discussed in the past. But whaling is where senior company execs are targeted by the criminals.
I agree. That sounds absolutely horrendous. So when you look at things like this, how do most organizations realize that something has actually happened and that their client's been compromised?
Yeah, so the trouble with this is it's happening outside of the company's perimeter. This is third-party threat, which none of your tools are going to pick up. None of your conventional security tools are going to pick up. So generally, you know about it when a disgruntled customer or supplier contacts you, or worse still, you chase a customer for payment and they go, well, we've already paid you. But actually they paid the criminals. So it's very, very difficult to know that that it's going on.
So I've read that there's something called defensive domains. What are they and how can they help?
Well, if you go back to the example that I used earlier, you could, if your domain was that, you could go and register example with the RN in the middle, and you could register example.com.co.uk.ie.eo. blah, 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 so that you're preventing criminals from getting hold of those. But you're really looking at a bottomless pit now. There are so many TLDs, and there's so many clever options using foreign alphabets and all sorts that the criminals, if they're determined, will always find something that's going to fool your customers and your supply chain.
So what are some of the ways that, and some of the best ways that somebody can protect their organization, apart from spending a truckload of money on all these fake domain names?
So there's, I suppose, two things. If you're the one being impersonated, then this first thing doesn't really help. But organizations who don't want to receive or don't want to fall for these impersonations should look at staff training, because that's a very low cost it's a very economical and effective way of teaching your staff what does an impersonation look like. And if something looks suspicious, then you should just look a little bit more closely and see if it does actually look like the things I've talked about. If you want to do it as the company being impersonated, really there's only one way to do it, and that is to pay the money to some of these software companies that scan the internet, and they scan it continuously. They look for new registrations and they look for domains that look a bit like you. And once they find them, they then explore what are these domains actually trying to publish, who's registered those domains, has this individual or organization that's registered the domain got a history of doing other malicious stuff on the internet, in which case it becomes high risk. If they're publishing something on a website, are they publishing your logo? Are they publishing your content? Or are they actually doing something that's directly in competition with you, but using your credentials to do that. So you monitor them, and then they can flag it to you. And then you have the option to do something called a takedown. And that is where you go to the registrar of that illegitimate domain and say, you need to remove this because it's flagrantly doing something that is illegal and fraudulent. And sometimes they push back a bit, but there's a legal process that you can follow to just get that done.
So if people want to get hold of you and Fortinet, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we've got a website, www.fortinet.co.uk. Go to our contacts page. You can email us. You can call us. There's even a calendar link so that you can book something at your own convenience if you want to, and we'll give you a complimentary discussion to help you understand this in a bit more detail, talk you through some of the vendors that actually provide this service, and go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time this morning, Simon. Really appreciate it, and we'll speak to you shortly. Bye for now.
Yeah, thanks, Elias. Thanks a lot.